What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the best programming language, which one I think is the best, and yeah, which one really is the best. You'll have to find out at the end what the answer is. So, in this gameplay, I do pretty good. It's better than I expected. I've been playing against this Yoda guy for, I don't know, 3 or 4 games, and it's one of those things that I think I'm beating him, but it's giving me all the, 0 and 12 guys, and so we actually do end up losing, even though I'm going, 15 or 20 positive. I was streaming this, actually, so if you were watching on Twitch, then this might be repetitive, but the content, what I'm saying, will not be. I'm doing I don't know, straightforward live commentary, just doing it right after the game because I can't talk and do this at the same time. Anyway, so what is the best programming language? I get asked this all the time. In my opinion, it's changed a good bit, although I will say that it's probably, my opinion on this changes more often than I would have expected. So if you ask me towards the end of college, but not quite the end of college, what was the best programming language for someone to learn, I would have said Java. Why? Because I figured Java is the one programming language you'll ever need to learn. You can do anything with it. Has great modules, has great IDE, it has all this stuff to make your life so stinking easy. Which was true, but maybe not the best use or the best thing to use for every situation. So maybe it's the Swiss Army knife of production level development, but I think there's a lot of other better languages for just normal software development. And their team is raging hard. So I would have talked about how Java, I can code it pretty quick, or could back then. I found it to be very easy. I found the IDE to be wonderful. It's nice that you can compile your code in one place and then run it on just about anywhere with Java installed. Any platform, Mac, Windows, Linux, it doesn't really matter. You can run your Java code on it. And it's gotten better. They keep updating. I think the updates make sense. It's pretty consistent. There's a couple things like base types that maybe are not very consistent, but for the most part it's really good. If you know Java, you can do Android development, which is a great way for college students in particular to get better. Why? Because it's something you can work on in your free time, breaks, whatever, and when you're making no money, making $5 or $10 a week off of ads or sales of some kind of weird little app is not too bad. And it's great to have a project in mind working. If you learn something in class, say about heaps or something, and you've been trying to figure out how to solve a certain problem, and then you go, oh, heaps, that's perfect. That is the solution to the thing I've been fighting with for the last month or whatever. Wish I'd known about heaps, 2 months ago. And so for that, Java is great. However, Java is a pain. To print to the screen hello world, which is kind of a stereotypical first thing to print to the screen. You have to put 6 lines of code, has all these different brackets and whatever, and semicolons and parentheses, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You take the code, you compile it, you run it, which if you have an IDE like Eclipse, Interactive Development Environment, I believe is the name of the IDE stands for. I just know it as IDE. It's been so long. But you just hit run or whatever, and it'll compile and run it and everything for you. But you still have to do all that mess. And if you want to print something, you have to do system.out.println, println, parentheses, quotation marks, hello world, in quotation marks, in parentheses, semicolon. And not to mention the 4 or 5 lines that I don't even remember before, and 1 or 2 after. So not exactly easy. For Python, you open up a regular text file, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. You say print, open quotation marks, hello world, in quotation marks, then that's it. You've got a thing. Then you'll type somewhere Python, then the name of that file, and it'll run that file. Pretty nice. There's an interactive mode, which if you've read my blog, I talked about a lot. I think there's a Python tutorial on there actually that's becoming pretty popular. So if you want to learn a programming language, I highly encourage you to go there. The next tutorial I'll probably do will be Visual Basic, and most people in the open source community are going to cringe when they hear that because that's owned by Microsoft. You got to do it only on Windows, and I mean I don't even have, well, I mean I have a Windows desktop, right, for this kind of thing, but for this kind of thing being streaming and stuff. But I also have my Mac, right, and that's pretty much what I use for programming and day out life, just because it's a wonderful little piece of machinery. But why use Visual Basic? Well, Visual Basic ties in very, very closely with Excel, and it actually has stuff built in to allow you to do things like pull and data from cells and put data into cells. You can call Visual Basic functions that you write from inside of Excel, just like you would any other function you wrote in Excel. And Excel's got some awesome graphing stuff, and it's a pretty cool environment to get to use. And so, yeah, I would just encourage somebody who's maybe an accountant to just go ahead and take the Excel stuff that they know, and then find somewhere. I'm sure someone else has written one. Find a Visual Basic for Excel tutorial, and that'll get you programming in an area that you were almost programming before, but maybe not quite. And so, yeah, I think Visual Basic for engineers, accountants, that kind of thing is probably the best language you could learn, because it's going to give you more tools than you would have if you try to stick with just pure Excel. So things like for loops and all kinds of loops and if statements and stuff. I'm not sure how well that works in normal Excel. So yeah, learn Visual Basic with Excel if you're using Excel or you're just an Excel whiz. Use Python for just about everything else. If you're wanting to do apps, then you probably ought to learn Java. I'm not sure about order. Maybe learn Python first. I don't know. C++ is only if you're planning on writing production level code. So if you're teaching yourself so that someday you can get a job, I don't know, writing software for routers or getting a job at a programming company, there is a pretty good chance that C++ would be a good general thing. Although it's kind of an aging language. Usually now Java pays more and C# pays more, which is basically Microsoft's version of Java. In fact, I think they originally called it that. And so those are, the popular languages right now for that. If you're wanting to do iPhone stuff, you got to do Objective-C, which is C++'s Mac offshoot. So it's Objective, which C++ is Objective. So I'm not sure how different that is, but so yeah. So those are your different languages to learn. Bash, if you're doing anything in Unix so Linux or Mac, that'll be super helpful. That's what your terminal will run, so the little command line thing in Windows. I don't suggest learning the Windows command line stuff. It's just too much of a pain. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can tell you. Which once again, depends on what you want to use it for. If you want to do data analysis, if you're wanting to write little scripts that do fun little things, make little click button whatever stuff, Python's probably your go-to. If you want to make web pages, well, you probably ought to learn HTML and JavaScript at the basic level, and then you can learn, if you know Java, you can embed Java into most web stuff, and that's kind of cool. So yeah, if you're doing web, HTML, JavaScript. If you're doing that, HTML, JavaScript. If you want to do Android, do Java. If you want to do iPhone, do Objective-C. If you're wanting to do anything with Excel, Visual Basic, or if you already know Excel, I would encourage Visual Basic. If you're just wanting to program for basically programming's sake, you said, I've got this data and I want to be able to analyze it. I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to. I want to make graphs programmatically. I want to do stuff to program the computer to do work for me. Python is great for that. It's much easier to do tasks in Python, just the way it's designed. And so I just really encourage you to start there, and then unless you fit into one of those specific use cases. Anyway, that's about all I got. I was going to talk about, also it depends on what kind of computer you have. If you have a Windows computer, Visual Basic with Excel, although you have to pay for Excel, so that's another thing to consider, I guess. Visual Basic with Excel is pretty easy to install. It should be headache free. You shouldn't have any. They spend a lot of time making Excel as bug free as possible. A lot of time and money, and so you should be able to get pretty good ease of install there. If you have a Mac or a Linux machine, then well, if you're a Linux machine, you probably already know all this stuff. But if you've got a Mac or a Linux machine, you probably already have Python installed. Might not be the most recent or the newest, greatest one, but it'll already be installed and be great for you. You open up a terminal prompt or whatever. But yeah, so go check out my tutorial. I'll throw a link down in the description, and I will talk to you guys later. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay. Peace out. That was the most raging I've ever seen in a game.